This entertainer was featured on the popular hit TV show The Sopranos. Now she talks about her experiences on the show. Straight Outta Jersey welcomes Diana Lynn. Bada bing!
What's up, guys? Welcome to Straight Outta Jersey. I am Joe Zapata, and when you think of Jersey, you think of The Sopranos. And my next guest was a dancer on that popular show in the BADA BING Club. I welcome the beautiful Diana Lynn. How you doing, Diana?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it so much.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad we got our timing to work.
Yes, exactly.
It took a minute, but we got it.
Well, first of all, I want to know, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
And who was Diana in high school?
Quiet. I still am. I'm kind of a quiet. Even though I'm an entertainer, I guess I come out of my shell on stage. I guess a lot of entertainers do, but I'm the quiet one.
Okay. Where did you learn how to dance?
I started dancing at 3 years old. Ballet, tap, floor gymnastics kind of stuff. Worked my way through the years, but I started as, a typical ballet tap dancer.
Oh, wow. Okay. What did your parents think of all the dancing and everything? They encouraged you?
Yeah, as a little kid, yeah. As an adult, it was different. But
I'm sure.
Yeah, but as a kid, yeah, I had to do my dance recitals. They drove me and picked me up, and after school and stuff. I had a great teacher when I was growing up. He was really nice, and so that's kind of what got me started with dancing. Something I just always liked to do.
Now, as a child, did you want to be like an actor or some sort of entertainer?
I did. My parents were not in any type of the business or anything like that. So I was pretty much on my own trying to figure it out. So I didn't even start until I was 18. I had a crazy, bad ex-boyfriend that I met when I was 18. And he was doing talk shows and stuff at the time. And he was in that circuit. And so we started doing talk shows together. We were dating for 3 weeks and we did a talk show together. Oh, it was the Charles Perez show.
Oh, okay.
And it was my boyfriend's like jealous of me being a sports fan. Actually, I'm on there wearing an Islanders jersey. I was a big hockey fan as a teenager, high school time period. I was a hockey fan. I liked hockey players and rock stars. So
wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so that's how the TV thing got started with that. We did a bunch of pilots and things like that, and luckily got rid of the ex and continued doing my own thing.
That's cool. Obviously you got into dancing, and then you worked in the famous, it's not the Bada Bing, it's actually really Satin Dolls.
It's Satin Dolls, yes.
Yes, exactly. Club here in New Jersey. How did you kind of get the job there?
Well, my crazy ex, of course, thought I would be a great dancer. And so he brought me and I auditioned, and after I worked my first night, I haven't stopped. It's been 30 years. I've been dancing for 30 years in January. So I guess it worked for me. And I guess he was right about one thing, that I would be a good dancer.
Is it tough to have a relationship when you're a dancer? I know for me, it would be like, I would be really jealous.
Yeah, well, so it depends on who you're dating. The first one was the violent, crazy, stalker, terrible ex person. And then luckily that led me to appreciate the next person I met, which is my husband, who I have been married to for 25 years this year.
Awesome.
So a lot of people always say like, oh, if I was married to you, you wouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, well, that's why I'm not married to you. So my husband is just very accepting and supporting. Supportive of everything that I do. I mean, even when I do all these events and things, he's right there with me, even if you don't know it. He looks different a lot of times when we're there, so people don't know that it's him there. But if I need him to step in, he does. But
that's cool.
But as a dancer, he knows I can handle it myself. The way people are, he knows if I have an issue with the way somebody talks to me or whatever, And I always say, like, I mean, you really shouldn't give a girl who's wearing 6-inch spiked heels too many problems, because they are a weapon. 2 of them, one on each.
Wow.
And we'll slap and kick you too. We'll do, we'll do whatever. So we, he's there. He's there anytime I need him. I have him and my photographer Ted. Everybody that sees me usually sees him with me too. They're my 2 sidekicks.
Well, did you ever have a problem at Satin Dolls when it went over the edge where you had to get a little bit messy?
Um, that club in particular has a lot of stories. All of us that work there, the TV show didn't even grasp a glitch of the real stuff that went on at that place. That could have been its whole own show.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just the dressing room alone, there was no cameras in there. So fights, there was a lot of fights and things like that. People fight over money and guys. Yeah, it was a whole adventure. It was a party though. Like before the show started and everything, it was just a go-go bar that we all would drink, eat, hang out. People would tip you to sit there and just hang out. It was like you couldn't believe it was a job. It was really just fun. A
lot of stars go there. A lot of movie stars go there.
I've seen people over the years in there. Musicians, some actors. I've seen. I don't want to name drop them because they probably weren't supposed to be there. But yes, I've seen some over the years there. Given some dances to a few of them over the years. They probably don't want me to drop their name for that either. But the one that I could say, after we did Sopranos Con, which was a reunion of a lot of the actors and stuff, people that did the show, and they had after it. They bussed a whole bunch of people, like 100 and something people, to the club, and I danced to "Woke Up This Morning," and which was really cool because I had no idea who all the people were that were there. I just had to, focus and do my thing, climb the poles, do all that. And when I got down, these guys were like, "Oh, that was so great! I loved hearing you dance to our song." And I was like, "What?" And it was Alabama 3. So that's cool. I had to dance for those guys in the club, not even knowing they were there. So that was really cool. And then I interviewed them the next day at Sopranos Con. But then they paid me to give Burt Young a lap dance.
Oh, well, Burt Young can rock.
So I got he's really cool. He actually had me stay with him like the whole time we were at Sopranos Con, kind of had me as like his sidekick. If you see all the photos, I'm pretty much with Burt Young the whole time, which was really iconic and sad. Another one that we've lost.
Another one we lost.
But yeah, he was fun. I have a lot of pictures and videos from that. Actually, we did that.
Cool. So obviously Sopranos, you then become on the Sopranos. How did that happen? You get on the Sopranos?
So it was fun. So I was at work one day, and I'm outside. They were like, "Oh, they're filming this TV show here, a pilot to a show, and we can't start working yet." And I'm like, "Oh, man, I wish I knew. I wouldn't have gotten to work at 11 o'clock in the morning, So I'm outside smoking a joint, killing time. Okay. And these two guys come out the door. And one of them says to me, "That smells good." And I'm like, "You want some?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So I smoke a joint with these two guys. One of them I thought was a crew guy, the other guy. And then he's telling me, he's like, "Oh, I'm filming the show. We're doing this pilot, blah, blah, blah. You want to go and eat? We have the catering, whatever." So we're talking, and he's like, "I'm, Jimmy." And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you, and Tony." So it turns out it was Tony Sirico and James Gandolfini. Wow, and that's the really picture cool. That's the picture,
yes, that you sent me.
So,
I have we'll post in here.
So I had said to them, well, in case you guys become famous, which I kept a camera in my car because you never know, who's gonna, wherever you're gonna encounter a moment you want to take a photo. It was a camera time period. We didn't have cell phones like we do now.
Gotcha.
So one of the other guys there, I took his picture with them, and so we both have the photo from that day. And we ate, and then they were like, let's go inside and hang out, have a drink. And so I went drinking with them and hanging out, and they were just two guys I met. He told me he filmed a movie. James was like, "Oh yeah, I filmed this movie." Tony was like, "Yeah, I'm an actor." Blah, blah. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know who they were." I had no idea.
Yeah.
Turns out they were,
Yeah, it wasn't a big show at that time yet. It wasn't really known.
It was only the pilot, so nothing. He told me he filmed a movie with Nicolas Cage, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I know who that is." So then over time of them filming and coming in, like I would see them. Now these are like my new, like no, Tony was not a smoker, just me and James did, and he didn't really want people to probably know that because he was cool with his cigars, But yeah, he was just somebody I got to like hang out with and drink with and see him. And, he was flirty, just like you could see that in the character on the show. Once I started watching the show, I was like, well, there's a lot of James and Tony, There's a lot of that. He was very, very sweet. And actually my son has the same birthday as him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it came out as a thing. I got a thing for my son when he was born, and it was like all the stuff and that happened on the day you were born. And on there, it's his birthday. So, and they're both the sweetest, kindest people. So,
so you were on how many episodes? You were on like 2. People can think
I
you're Tracy.
2. Yep, I did 2. Everybody thinks I'm Tracy. I'm not Tracy. I did not get beat up on the show. Although when the show did start filming there, I told my parents, they're filming the show at work, and I'm gonna do it, and my dad got really pissed. So I filmed it, and then the show aired, and you're seeing all this stuff with it happening with this girl and the boss coming to her house, and and he was like, "This is ridiculous," and I'm like, "That is not real life. Like it's HBO. It's a show. My boss is not coming over and like beating me up and stuff. Like it's not like that, So he stopped watching it. He wouldn't watch it after that. They were not supportive because of that happening. I'm like, I'm not her, and they don't do that. But
wow. That's pretty crazy. Now, so when you were filming, you did the 2 episodes. What was it like on set with long days, I assume?
So the one I did was the way I got the part that I did, which I'm the upside down pole girl from season 3, episode 10. So I slid down the pole upside down. I got to film with Stevie Van Zandt, and Vincent Pastore was there too. He was filming the scene where they move the clothes in the dressing room and he's in the rat trap. So I got to be there for them filming that, and took pictures with him. And that's how I originally had met him. Stevie Van Zandt, I was obviously a little starstruck by him. I grew up, liking Bruce Springsteen, and not giving him a shout out because of what he's been pulling lately. But I do, I do like them. You can't not like a song that you liked back in the day, So or music and stuff. It's going to come on. It's going to bring you back to being 5 years old. But anyway, but having Stevie Van Zandt there with his soprano makeup on and this wig and stuff like that, you're seeing like a different person, obviously, who I'd been seeing filming for a couple of years, but he's like right there, and I gotta go and climb the pole. But it's funny, the story of how I got the part. My boss, the owner of the club, I was out one night and he was there, and he was like, "You do pole tricks, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you be at the club at 5:30 in the morning on Monday?" And I'm like, "To film The Sopranos?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So that's how I got it. I didn't audition. I didn't do anything. My boss just, never paying attention to me doing pole tricks. I guess he did, because he was like, "Okay, go." So so I went. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he drove me, and so that's what I said. He's always been there for even in the background. He's there. Even my Stevie Van Zandt picture, it's me, him, and my husband in the photo from filming that day. And he filmed season 5 with me. We actually did a scene together. I'll tell you about that. But so now the director says to me, and another girl, there was 2 of us there, and it's like, okay, which one of us is going to do it? So I was like, oh shit, I thought I had this, So he said, "Okay, I want you to climb up the pole and slide down." I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I do this trick a million times. I've been doing it since I started. I got this. It's 25 feet in the air, but I've been doing this trick a million times. The other girl's like, "I want to go first. I want to go first." I'm like, "All right, go ahead, go first." So she went and she did a million tricks on the pole from the top to the bottom, all the way down, did all this stuff. And the director said, "Okay, now you go." So I climbed up the pole, put my arms out, and I slid down the pole. And he said, "You got the part, you followed direction." And so that's how I got it. The other girl got really pissed off. F you to everybody, and kicked the door and left. So she didn't get to film it. They would have let her be a background dancer. They would have let her still do it, but they were like, "Oh." So that's why it's very important to follow direction when a director is telling you what to do. So I definitely learned that doing it. And then, so I had to do the trick 14 times, which is exhausting. I would do it a couple times in a 8-hour shift, and to do it repetitively over and over again. And my palms are sweating, and they have a mist going, and literally all these people are, Stevie Van Zandt standing there, but he signed my autograph, "You give good pole, baby," on my Sopranos 2002 calendar. So I still have that, which is cool.
That's cool.
And I've never seen him again.
Wow.
I never met him again. I never saw him again, but it was an iconic, really cool moment for me.
Yeah. Yeah, you go to a lot of the conventions, and we see a lot of people. You're always at the conventions. How do you enjoy seeing those guys at the conventions?
I love to see them. They're all really cool. They're all like my friends now. You can just talk to them normal and stuff. And everybody, we're all older. Everybody looks different and stuff. But I just see like, these really kind people that I've met over the years. And then I go back and I watch the show and I'm like, like David Preval, I just got to see him at PaisanCon, and, you see his character. And he is and I always tell him, I'm like, you play like the best, like nastiest person, but he is such a sweet guy.
Yes,
he is so sweet. And like all of them are like that. They have some, the characters they play are, violent and nasty, and yet you meet them in person and you're like, how did they get cast for that? Because they are so sweet,
Now, people don't know you also did Howard Stern, correct?
Yes, I did the Howard Stern show. I got evaluated for Penthouse on there. They told me to get a nose job.
Oh my God.
That's how I came out to my parents as being a dancer, because Howard actually says it, and her parents don't know she's a dancer. And so it was on the radio, and it was on the E show and CBS. And so that's how I was like, sorry, Mom and Dad, apologizing to my parents for telling them and I flashed my boobs, so they were not thrilled with that.
So they probably weren't, they're probably not thrilled, huh?
I was about 22 when I did that. I'm 49 now, so it was a long time ago, but they weren't thrilled with that.
How was Howard? Was he a cool guy? Was he nice?
Off camera, really cool, really nice, really complimenting, all that. And on camera, he's doing what his thing is. So if you think about it, if you watch the show and you see the most beautiful women on there, they would still find things wrong with them and pick them apart, and make them feel bad. That's what the point, and you have to know when you're going into it, what it's going to be like. Them telling me to get a nose job, and then everybody afterwards now commenting on your nose, like, oh, you should or you shouldn't, this and that and everything. I was like, oh God. But Howard Stern doesn't pay anything, that's the show like that, an interview, you don't get paid. But I've made a ton of money just from having had that as a credit from doing the show, and
the exposure was great.
Yeah, so it was a good credit, which then led to doing The Sopranos, which I was actually supposed to do a magazine. I was going to go into the nude magazine world. I was already a dancer, and a lot of people approached me with all that. And I was supposed to do Gallery Girl Next Door. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So I won the contest, and they were like, you can't come with anyone. You have to come by yourself. And I was, 21 or so when I submitted for that. And my boyfriend, who is my husband, was like, you can't go alone. You can't go alone. And I was like, I just should have had him come with me, But so I asked my mother, and my mom went with me. And we had this whole crazy story of our trip going there. And the lady in the that was, I guess, the editor or whatever she was, she tried to offer me Valium, and told me, she was like, once we own your photos, we have it for, forever, and we can edit and this and that and blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, all right, I don't know if I want to do this. And then she's like, and you can't do any other TV stuff. And I was like, oh, but I want to do the Howard Stern show. And it's like, you can't do that while you're doing this. And I was like, well, and I backed out. And so I've never done the nude magazines.
Wow. So are you comfortable being nude? Is that
I've worked, in
obviously
nude, topless, and go-go. I've done all of it through my 30 years. It broadens the amount of clubs that you can work in.
Okay.
If you're like, I only work go-go, well, then you're down that many bars, and you don't have to be nude.
Okay.
It's usually your own discretion. People don't realize that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah. So some places are like mandatory, get your G-string off before your first song, which that was how I was when I started. And it was,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it messes with your head. It bothers you. You cry,
sure.
You get upset, and it's a lot. People make comments. It's the business is not easy. You have to have a good head on your shoulders, and pay your bills, not drug problems. And lost a lot of people in the business.
Exactly.
In all around, whether it's dancers, bouncers, managers, bartenders, everything. Lost a lot of people in the business.
Wow.
So it's tough, but I like it, and I don't know, for some reason it works for me. And when I was a kid, I did not know that this was going to be my career. I wasn't a little kid that wanted to to do this.
Well, you're always going to be associated with an iconic show. I mean, even though,
Yeah.
you know, forever.
Yep. Yeah. I made it on camera, which I'm the girl who ends up on the cutting room floor a lot. I wind up getting cut from a lot of things. I've done so many things that you'll never see me in. Unless you see like the cuts that were on the floor somewhere. If they go and they made a reel of that, I have a lot of those.
Yeah. And now you interview people, correct? You interview people on your...
Yes. That's something I really love to do, because I interview people that I am a fan of. Like some people are like, oh, will you interview me, or, you know, my band or this and that? And I'm like, I like to interview people that that I'm a fan of. That's kind of where, you know, I like to let them know, like, I liked your movie, your song, your show, whatever it was that you did. When I was a big TV person when I was a little kid, like I like to watch, you know, sitcoms and stuff. If you ask me any movie or show that's out now, I probably couldn't tell you anything. I watch none of it now. I scroll on my phone and stuff, but I watch old clips of the shows that I used to like, 90210 and Sopranos and, you know, Roseanne. They were my favorites. But yes, I've met a lot of them. Sadly, some of them have passed away, like Gavin McLeod, you know, Captain Stubing. He was like so sweet. And you meet him, and when you interview him, you know, like you get a little time with them more than just a photo and stuff. And sometimes they're like a fan of The Sopranos, and they like, you know, oh, I want, you know, I like the show, and they want like some merch and stuff I have. I'll give them some things I have. And it's really cool.
Is there anyone you want to interview that you haven't yet that you really want to interview?
I would love to interview John Bon Jovi.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because I met him when he was the one I liked the most when I was young, and I met him, and I did not have a good experience meeting him. Oh, really? And so I would like to fix that. He was not nice to me. Really? And I was like backstage at Giant Stadium, and he was really rude to me, and he put his hand in my face and walked away when I asked for a photo. And I have photos with like everybody. And he was a jerk. And so that really, it really bothered me. And then I actually like boycotted Bon Jovi for about a year in my early 20s. And then I met him. met him again. And he took my camera, and the same camera that I have my photo with James Gandolfini with that camera I kept in my car. Yeah. And I got a selfie with him. I did get the selfie with John Bon Jovi, and somebody else got a photo. So I got the picture. But I was really disappointed in how he treated me. He really was like literally his hand in my face. I was like, what the hell? And then he walked away with his wife. And I was just, you know, and Richie Sambora was standing there, and he was like, I'm so sorry. And I just wanted to give him a Bada Bing shirt and take a photo, right? Because I hit my boss. He was like, oh, you're going to Giant Stadium. Here's some shirts. Go do some promo and give them out. So I gave it to the security guards. Eventually, I got to where I needed to be, which was the end of the show at Giant Stadium with nobody there but the band taking promo photos, and made my Bada Bing shirt. And so I gave the shirt to Richie. He's like, I love this show. I'm going to give it to my wife, who is Heather Locklear, who was there too. Nice. And I was like, so I didn't get the picture with Heather, but I did with Richie and the whole rest of the band. So that's cool. That's cool. But I wasn't interviewing people back then. No. Well, is there anyone you interviewed recently or whatever that was not what you expected? That was like, not great. No, they've all been really good. That's cool. Sometimes I get like, I just interviewed Michael Madsen. Oh, he's awesome. He was at the PaisanCon, I think, right? Or no? No, he was at Mob Movie Con, but he was at Chiller. I do go to Chiller Theater. Yes, I go to Chiller all the time too. You may see me there. I'm always there. Well, we're gonna see each other. You and your husband, I'm taking out to eat. Yeah, you got to come to my table. That's where we were all hanging out at the restaurant. That's where everybody kind of goes. That's where I did my interview with Michael there. And we met at Mob Movie Con, and quick, but this time we got to spend like the whole weekend like hanging out, and really sweet guy. Really cool. Yeah. Really sweet guy. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, from The Sopranos, when you were working there, who was your favorite character, and who'd you love talking to the most? James was the main one. Yeah, because until season 3 came, he was a customer at the bar. It kind of looked like he blended with everybody else. People didn't really know who he was, or they didn't really go up to him, but I would sit with him, and I would eat with him and drink with him. And he asked me out on a date, and I couldn't go because I had a boyfriend. So
Okay.
I still joke around with my husband about that. I'm like, I didn't go because of you know, but, and he turned out to be, he was just, some guy at a club. Why am I going to go out with him? I've never done that. So
was he a big guy? He's really big though, James, right? He's a big guy, isn't he?
He's big, but when I'm at work, I'm wearing 6-inch heels too. So,
that's okay.
when I take them off, I'm, 5'4", but with them on, I'm a little more level with them, and we're sitting. And he was smaller earlier on. He's just such a nice guy. It really makes me sad that he passed away so young. I think obviously we all feel the same way about that.
Yeah.
But
When they film Sopranos, did they shut down the club?
yes, they would shut it down, they would shut it down. They would start filming early in the morning. Like, so when we closed, they would start. Boom. Now everything comes rolling in really quick. And if it went overtime, then the boss got paid more, because the club was closed. So he got paid more and if they went into overtime, he didn't care. Go ahead. He's guaranteed money instead of waiting for customers to come in. So
wow. How's the pay for, being an extra? I mean, I've been an extra. I just did Happy Gilmore 2 actually with Adam Sandler.
Oh, you did that one? Nice.
Yeah, I did that one here in Jersey. And, got
what's funny? Shooter McGavin came into a club I was working at one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know his real name. But he got really pissed off at me because the movie had just come out. And he came over and I was like, Shooter McGavin, I did that to him. And he was like, I'm known for more parts than that, and I was like, well, I don't know, I only know you from that one. But yeah, that was he was filming a movie in Rockland, and he came into a club I was working at there early to all before Soprano time period. That was early on. They would close it down. Sometimes it would go a couple hours. Sometimes it would go into, if it kept going, they just wait. When it was done, then boom, we opened everything. They left the lighting and stuff up the whole season. That stuff stayed up. They made fake police stations in there.
Really?
A lot of people, there was the tour bus that would come on Sundays, and it was everybody from England. I don't know why the show's so popular in England, but they would come there and take pictures of the dumpster outside and the guardrail where Tracy got killed and all that stuff happened. That was a really popular spot.
The back room on the club, is it the same how they did it? No, it's different.
It's done in the studio, like the Silver Cup studio. They filmed that there. No, the actual office of the club is like a closet.
Really?
It's the smallest little. You walk in, actually my picture, I have a Polaroid from when we all had auditioned for it to do the show. We had sent in Polaroids and stuff, but that's not how I ended up getting it. I ended up getting it because my boss asking me, but then my photo is taken in there, but yeah, it's just this small little, it's like a closet. It doesn't have a pool table. There isn't a bunch of people hanging out,
That's what I always thought,
No, it's very misleading. Let's put it that way. And the dressing room that was in the beginning, when they first filmed, they ended up remodeling it. So it changed from the first season till later on. If you see scenes, at first it was only right when you first walk in, it was just like a little hallway. Then they added a whole other room to it.
Wow.
They made it bigger, which is where Pussy's in the Rat Trap.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool.
So they couldn't have done that the first season, but it was later on. Yeah, we got a club makeover.
So where can people reach out to you? I know you have OnlyFans, correct?
Yep, I've just started that. Why not, right?
Yeah, well, why not? Everyone's making money on it.
I'm in this business, so but
you're in the business.
So I just started that. It's Bada Bing 76. Diana Lynn. I think it's something like that. But I'll give you the link for it.
Yeah, give me the link and everything. I have some stuff here. You have Twitter, you have your Instagram, YouTube channel.
Yep.
Exactly. And where are you going to be next? Are you going to be at another convention coming up soon?
I'm going to be doing Chiller. I do Chiller in October, so you definitely got to come to my table there. I have a stage prop, so I'll put you on my stage and a lot of celebrities to take pictures in my booth. It was funny when I did Chiller last year. I was in the same room as Annie.
Yes,
Aileen Quinn, and I had interviewed her a few years earlier. She is like the sweetest, coolest. I loved her, and two of the orphans, Pepper and Molly, were there too. So people really liked having the reunion of them there. And so Aileen was like, can I take a picture on your pole? And I was like, yeah, sure. She came over, we did some pictures together. And then I was like, do you want some by yourself? So I took her, and her mom came over and was like, Aileen, get down from there. she's like, Mom, wait. And she wanted her photos. So she got a few there. But yeah, I have a whole variety of people my husband built me the stage.
Yeah. Chuck Zito always goes there. You met Chuck Zito? Chuck Zito's always there. He always goes to Chiller.
He's always there. He was just at the PaisanCon. He was there walking around.
Yeah, he was at the PaisanCon. Yes, exactly.
Yep. You get some random people that are coming that are just Artie Pasquale. He was at Chiller. He just comes to walk around and knows a few people. Artie was there, and then he was just at PaisanCon. I'm walking. I'm like, what are you doing here? You know, you see, you don't know when you go to these things who might be walking around, and you know who you might run into. Like as extras, they're fans or friends of people. Sometimes they're helping them out and stuff. Bobby
Finero, you know Bobby Finero. He played Eugene.
Oh yes, yep. Yeah, he's really.
Jason.
Yep. They were just at the last one that I did. And we did New Jersey Collector Fest. Jason, he was at Mob Movie Con, Sopranos Con. We all did a lot of the same like circle of conventions. So we wind up being able to eat together. Those things feed you really well. You know, the Italian food. Yeah, they know to like feed everybody really well.
They do.
Christopher never does them. He's someone who he never does Michael Imperial. Yeah,
he doesn't do it much.
No, he does his own thing. He's got like his own separate thing, but I've never seen him at one of the conventions. Drea.
I know Drea does. She comes. She did Chiller.
Yep, she did Chiller. She did Sopranos Con. I filmed with her season 5. Me and my husband filmed an episode where James catches Meadow in her bar. And he like confronts her coming out of the bathroom. So I'm coming out of the bathroom. I was like her friend for that one. I wasn't even a dancer for this one. I got to be like her friend, and me and my husband were like bar people cut out, you know. You see me coming out of the bathroom, you see the back of my head if somebody wants to screenshot that.
Okay.
And then I'm walking past Meadow in another part. But yeah, that was another time I got to film with James. Now that time now security was much more, you know, around. You couldn't really like talk to him and hang out with him, you know. I got to say hi to him and stuff, but I couldn't hang out with him like at the club. It wasn't the same.
Because it was season 5 by now and became a huge show.
Now it's huge, and you know, they're going to their trailers. They've got a bunch of people walking them, and you know, everybody's you know, back away, you know. But Drea is really cool. She got in a film with her there, and seeing her, like, she's beautiful.
Yeah,
she looks great. She's on OnlyFans too. Give her a shout out too.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is. I know that Drea and everything. Well, Diana, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're going to be at Chiller. I'm going to meet you there. We're going to have a good time over there. I'm going to post your Instagram, your OnlyFans, and everything. Thank you so much for doing this.
I think it's Bada Bing 76 Diana Lynn or something like that. I think
Bada Bing.
I should have this written down. Exactly.
Yeah, I have it over here.
You have the link. What is it?
Yeah, Twitter, and then I got your Instagram, and I got your YouTube, Facebook. But I don't have your OnlyFans, but I'll have it posted in my link for the interview at the end.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It's
been a pleasure. You know, hope your husband's feeling well.
I know. Yeah, we were both sick for a couple weeks, so stay healthy, because it's really like kicked everybody's butt all around this whole area. Everybody's got like the cold sinus allergy thing going on. So, you know,
stay healthy, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Bye-bye. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.